Well, welcome back to another week of the Premier League and another game week predictions video. I had a bit of a fumble last week because I thought, we're going to see a lot of goals this week. And then most of the results were either 1 or 2 goals. Yeah, maybe I'll leave my psychic predictions. Maybe I'll just leave that to the professionals, like Nosferatu and them lot, because clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. Enough waffling. We're going to look at my Game Week 24 predictions, see how well I did, and then we're going to move on to the Game Week 25 predictions, as we normally do. So, let us start with Game Week 24, and we're going to start with the Saturday fixture of Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Now, I predicted it would be a 2-1 win for Arsenal. It was actually a 4-2 win, and what a match it was to start off the week, to be honest. I mean, Villa looked like they could cause an upset before Arsenal fought back in the second half and kept their title hopes alive, but Aston Villa just looked brilliant. They really challenged Arsenal, and Arsenal may actually lose the league title, but they fought back and retained the title. Then move on to Brentford versus Crystal Palace. I predicted 3-1 to Brentford. It was actually a 1-1 draw, and it was Jan out at the death who salvaged a point for Brentford, which leaves Palace winless in 2023. Palace looked good for the most part, but just couldn't cling on to their goal lead, and it was it was a very good draw for Palace, to be honest, because Brentford at home have been a brilliant side recently, so kind of a shame for them, but I think they deserve the point. Then move on to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Bournemouth. I predicted 2-0 to Wolves. It's actually just 1-0 to Bournemouth, and what a huge 3 points that is for the Cherries, as Tavernier scored the only goal of the match to leave the Cherries all 3 points. Wolves just couldn't break them down. They kept throwing on attacking plays, but the Cherries, they held strong at the Molineux. And then move on to Brighton and Hove Albion versus Fulham. Now, this is one I predicted to be a high-scoring match. I predicted 3-2 to Brighton, but it was actually just 1-0 to Fulham. And despite a dominant performance from Brighton, they just could not score. And it was a very late chance from Fulham that sealed the points for the London side, who are now in contention for a European spot next season, which is just amazing for a newly promoted side. It's mad. And then move on to Everton versus Leeds United. I predicted 1-0 to Everton, and it was 1-0 to Everton. I'm getting good at predicting these Everton results, I think. We nailed it on this one. Everton climb out of the bottom 3 with a huge win over Leeds United. 1 goal was the difference, and what a goal it was as well. How did that man get it in from that angle? I will never know. Then move on to Chelsea versus Southampton now, and I predicted 3-0 to Chelsea. It was 1-0 to Southampton. I did hint that it could happen, and it did, as it was that man, Ward-Prowse, yet again with a beautiful free kick, which leaves Chelsea winless in 5. And I must say, what a fucking free kick. It's a huge 3 points for Southampton as well in their quest for Premier League survival. And then we move on to Nottingham Forest versus Manchester City. I predicted 3-1 to Man City. It was actually just a 1-1 draw. Man City did dominate the majority of the match, but Forest sprung to life in the last 10 minutes, and after a 19-pass build-up, Forest equalised and the City ground erupted. What a fucking game it was. Oh my god. Then move on to Newcastle United versus Liverpool. I predicted 2-1 to Newcastle. It's actually 2-0 to Liverpool. And Pope had an absolute shocker as he saw red for, well, this, which, let's be real, is a red. Liverpool looked like they've remembered how to play football with Núñez and Gakpo scoring, but they didn't need to challenge 10-man Newcastle, and they clung onto a 2-0 lead, so fair enough. Then move on to Sunday's fixtures, and we start off with Manchester United versus Leicester City. Now, I predicted 3-2 to Manchester United. It was actually just 3-0, and Manchester United kept themselves in the title race with a really dominant win over the Foxes. Rashford is that guy as he hit a brace, and in what amazing form he's been in. My god. And then move on to the final fixture of Game Week 24, and it was Tottenham versus West Ham United. Now, I predicted 2-1 to Spurs. It's actually 2-0. And it was a very important win for Spurs as they entered the top 4 race with Emerson Royale and Son firing Spurs ahead. West Ham tried to score, but they just couldn't find a way past Spurs. And you know what? Tottenham deserved the win. I thought they played pretty well. We've seen them, not turn up in recent matches, so them turning up here is good for Spurs. They were my Game Week 24 predictions, as you can see. I didn't do too well. Let's just jump into those predictions, shall we? And for Game Week 25, we're going to start off with the Friday fixture of Fulham versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, the Cottagers host Wolves at Craven Cottage as they look to further cement their position in European football. Wolves, on the other hand, are fighting for survival at the moment, currently sitting just 3 points above the relegation zone. Fulham have been in brilliant form since the Premier League returned, winning 6 matches since then. But that's even without their star man Mitrovic for some of those matches, who is still in doubt for injury, which is good news for Wolves. Wolves really need to find their goal scoring boots since they've only scored 17 goals all season. But I'm going to say 2-0 to Fulham. I don't see Fulham being too troubled by Wolves. I mean, as I've mentioned, they don't score many goals, whereas Fulham, they've been prolific in front of net as of late. However, most of the goals have come from Mitrovic, so it's definitely going to be a loss for Fulham, because without him, their firepower isn't as potent as we've seen them be. However, they can still score. Even under Lopetegui, Wolves are still struggling to be lethal in front of goal, but their record has improved since the Spaniard came in. However, I do reckon Fulham win this clash. They're a brilliant side at the moment, and honestly, if they get European football, they've definitely earned it. And then move on to Saturday's fixtures, and we start off with Everton versus Aston Villa. Now, both sides have played some good football as of late. Villa themselves were lethal against touted contenders Arsenal, whereas Everton have improved under Dyche and even beat Arsenal themselves. Dyche is looking to make Goodison a fortress, and their home form will definitely be a huge part in their quest to stay up. Emery has changed Villa's fortunes for the better, as they're currently sitting in 11th place, and they've shown they can be lethal in front of goal as well, with them scoring 8 in their last 5, with Ollie Watkins scoring half of those. Everton, on the other hand, have only scored 3 in the last 5, but 2 of those 3 goals actually have come under Dyche's stewardship, so it's looking better for them. I'm going to say 2-1 to Everton. I'm backing the Toffees here as their form at home is much better than their form away. Everton are looking to escape the clutches of the relegation zone, which is Dyche's specialty. Both of these sides have looked better since their respective managers came in. I'm sure it will be a good clash between both sides. I think Everton will manage to get all 3 points, but it will be a very tight affair, a very tough match for either side. However, I'm just going to back Everton here. Then move on to Leicester City versus Arsenal. The Foxes host an Arsenal side that regained their top spot after a brilliant match against Villa. Leicester are currently sitting 14th, and have been playing some brilliant attacking football in recent clashes, including against the Gunners' North London rivals, Bottleham. Arsenal's form has dipped recently, only winning 1 of their past 5 matches in all competitions, so it looked like they'd lose all 5, but after an impressive fight back at Villa Park, they climbed to the top of the table once again, with a bit of help from Forest. This taking place at the King Power means it could go either way, with Maddison back in form. Leicester are looking really strong. However, I'm going to say 3-2 to Arsenal. I reckon Arsenal will clinch it again against this good-looking Leicester side. I have a feeling this will play out similarly to how Arsenal's game did against Villa, with the Gunners coming out on top again. Arsenal have not kept a clean sheet in 5 league matches as well, so that bodes well for Leicester, who have become lethal in front of goal. Maddison and Tete look really dangerous for the Foxes and will play a big part in their quest for survival. Should be a very entertaining match nonetheless. Then move on to West Ham United versus Nottingham Forest. The Lingard derby returns, with both sides experiencing much different campaigns. It's a huge 6-pointer for either side, as West Ham currently find themselves in 18th, while Forest is sitting 13th and look to further cement their survival chances. This is a huge game for Moyes as well, as he does face getting the sack if he does not grab a result against Forest. This is a Forest side who drew against the reigning champions after a brilliant bit of football, but the only thing holding Forest back is their away form, not scoring in their past 2 away matches. But the performance against City should have filled the squad with confidence. I'm going to say 1-0 to Forest. I see Forest grabbing a huge away win over the Hammers here. We've developed a really solid defensive setup, with Philippe especially looking brilliant against Man City, and Navas is a world-class keeper as well. The Hammers' form hasn't been brilliant, and it sees them sitting in the relegation zone. They do have goal scorers within their squad, but the finishing is what lets them down. It'll be a very tight match, but I think Forest will grab a result here. Then move on to Leeds United versus Southampton. This is another huge relegation 6-pointer as the bottom 2 sides face one another at Elland Road. It'll be a very tough clash for both sides who are not having the best of seasons. Southampton did grab a brilliant result at Stamford Bridge and should be full of confidence heading into another tough away match. Leeds, however, have not won a league match since the Premier League returned, so it's not looking good for them at all, especially heading to this clash with the Saints. Elland Road is a stadium known for its atmosphere, but there's a good chance this atmosphere could turn against Leeds should they keep failing to get results. It'll be a huge match for each team's seasons. I'm going to say 2-1 to Leeds. I think Leeds will grab a vital win in this clash. Southampton have been playing better since Nathan Jones departed, but I do think Leeds will be the better side in this match. It's a really tough one to call, as neither side are playing brilliant football at the moment, but both also contain some quality players, which should make for an interesting matchup. It's a big clash for sure. It'll be another tight match, but I think Leeds will gain all 3 points here. It honestly could go either way though. Then move on to Bournemouth versus Manchester City. Now this is another huge match for Bournemouth, as they currently sit just 1 point out of the relegation places. Unfortunately for Bournemouth fans, they've never beaten Manchester City, and I don't see that changing here either. Man City are still in contention for the title, and despite dropping points against Forest, will be looking to put any other stumbles behind them in order to continue that challenge. We've seen the Vitality is not an easy place for teams to go this season, with 3 of Bournemouth's 5 league wins coming at home this season, and a lot of draws as well. I've mentioned it before, Man City don't look like the same team that won the league last season, and that is despite having 2 proper strikers within their ranks. They've struggled to break down teams that they should normally beat. Forest comes to mind, but that is the beautiful game. Bournemouth have put up good displays at home, but I think Manchester City have this one in the bag. I'm going to say 3-0 to City. It's hard to argue against the quality of this Manchester City side. I mean, that's not to say Bournemouth don't have any quality, but Manchester City is just on another level. While Haaland has cooled his goal scoring exploits as of late, he's still a brilliant player and will no doubt cause the Cherries problems. And he's only one player as well. This City side is full of players that are going to cause them problems. It'll be a really tough match for Bournemouth, as City can and will pile on the pressure to reignite their title hopes. So yeah, it's not looking good for the Cherries, I'm afraid. Then move on to Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. It's very unlucky for Palace as they host a Liverpool side that looks like it's turned around its fortunes. Palace are winners in 7 league games, and unfortunately for them, it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. Liverpool seem to have stopped their losing ways as they've comfortably won their last 2 Premier League matches after failing to win a match since the league returned. They put themselves in contention for European football again as they begin their march back up the table, whereas Palace, they're sitting mid-table and they will not make it easy for Liverpool either, as they can be quite solid at the back, limiting goals the opposing team score, but still being a bit leaky, letting in a goal here and there. It'll be a very tough match for both sides, as a failure to win more games could cause Palace to slide down the table and into a relegation scrap. Both teams are also suffering from injuries at the moment, with Palace's top goal scorer Zaha currently sidelined. Liverpool have been a bit more lucky, but are still without important players too. I'm going to say 2-1 to Liverpool. I think Liverpool will continue their climb up the table here, as much as I've enjoyed their downfall. I can't see Palace troubling them much, as they don't really have a constant potent attacking threat at the moment. I think Liverpool are coming in some good form at the moment as well, full of confidence, so they should be able to grab 3 points here. It's starting to look like last season's Liverpool again. Obviously they don't have Mane, so they're never going to look identical to that side, but they're looking better. And then move on to the Sunday fixture, and we see Tottenham Hotspur face Chelsea. It's another London clash as Spurs host a struggling Chelsea side. Chelsea currently find themselves sat in 10th place, only winning 1 of their last 5 matches, and the fans are not happy with Potter, as he's failed to gain consistent results with a squad like he did with Brighton, and this squad costs a lot more than Brighton's. This is strange to see, as they've spent a lot of money on this Chelsea squad and they should be challenging for the top spot realistically. Spurs' fortunes have been better, currently occupying a Champions League spot with 3 wins in the last 5. Tottenham look like the better side at the moment, while this Chelsea side are very lacklustre, with players like Mudryk failing to make an impact as was expected of them. But this could be chalked up to Mudryk just getting used to the Premier League. This is a big match for both sides, Chelsea especially, as they're looking to climb up the table and salvage some form of European football, and the pressure is on Potter, as the board may look to cut ties if results don't start coming. There's been murmurs. I know the board is saying they're backing Potter, but if the results don't come, they're going to have to drop him. I'm going to say 3-1 to Tottenham though. I think it'll be another win for Conte's men. Chelsea do have threatening players going forward, but I think Tottenham are currently the better side and have better chances of scoring too, with players like Son, Kulusevski and Kane all being fit. Chelsea will try to cause Spurs problems, but I can't really see them being too much of a threat at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think Spurs will get all 3 points. Then move on to the Wednesday fixtures, and we start off with Arsenal versus Everton. Arsenal will be looking for revenge after the shock result at Goodison a few weeks ago. They host the Toffees at the Emirates, which isn't looking too good for Dyche's men. Arsenal were in a lull of form, but look to turn that around after a brilliant fight-back result against Villa. Everton will be tough opponents for Arsenal. However, at the Emirates, Arsenal shouldn't have too many problems with them, as their away form is not great. However, they will look to make it very defensive, make it very hard for Arsenal to score goals, as is Dyche's way. Arsenal will be looking to reassert themselves at the top of the table and to keep challenging Man City for that league title. It would be absolute scenes though if Everton grabbed another result against Arsenal, but unfortunately for the Toffees, I don't see that happening in London. I think it's going to be 3-0 to Arsenal. As I said, I can't see the Gunners being too troubled by Everton. Arsenal are giving a good account of themselves this season and do look to be in a good position to win the league outright. Everton will be focused on survival, but even then I can't see them causing much trouble for Arsenal. It's not looking good for Everton in this clash. And finally, we see Liverpool host Wolverhampton Wanderers. So this is the second time the sides have faced in about 3 weeks, where Wolves ran out 3-0 winners at the Molineux. Liverpool's form has since changed, and they're looking a lot better than the side that Wolves beat. However, Wolves will be hopeful they can grab another huge result against Klopp's men. But I can't see that happening this time around. Liverpool's home record is much better than their away record, and in their quest for European football, they will need to start picking up all the points they can get. Wolves also need to start picking up points in their quest for Premier League survival, as they currently sit 3 points above the relegation zone. However, that may have changed with their match against Fulham. I'm going to say 2-1 to Liverpool. I see Liverpool winning this clash at Anfield to continue their European push. Wolves do have some quality players, as we saw the last time they played Liverpool. I think they'll be rather ineffective. I mean, we saw them, they didn't really make an impact against Bournemouth. So it's not looking good when they face Liverpool. Liverpool's uptick in form should continue, but there is every way they could lose this match. We don't know if they're fully on an upward trend yet. So yeah, those have been my Game Week 25 Premier League predictions. I'd love to see yours in the comments below. I think I've gone some bold claims. I think Forest gaining 3 points at West Ham will be a very huge statement. Maybe not as many goals as I thought we'd see last week, but it is what it is. The game's the game. And yeah, I hope you guys have a brilliant rest of your day, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Peace.